Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at two devices in one video. So we're going to take a look at the Samsung Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo. Both of these are basically the same devices, but the Gear 2 Neo is $100 cheaper at $199. This is $299. Basically, this is cheaper because it lacks the 2 megapixel camera and is made out of cheaper materials, plastic instead of more metal on the Gear 2. Now, these are no longer called Galaxy Gear, and that's because they're powered by Tizen, which is Samsung's alternative operating system to Android. Now, this also joins the Gear Fit device, which I've also reviewed, and the Gear Fit is kind of a combination smartwatch and fitness band, which is kind of a different form factor. But this is run by RTOS, or real-time operating system, as opposed to Tizen or Android. Now let's go and take a look at these specs, and pretty much we have the same specs except for the fact that this one does not have the camera, as you can see by that blank space there. So again, 2 megapixel camera on the Gear 2, a gyroscope, accelerometer, heart rate monitor, as well as an IR blaster for controlling AV equipment, which you're now finding on basically all Samsung devices. We have Bluetooth 4.0 low energy. We have a 1.63-inch Super AMOLED display, 320 by 320 resolution, good for 227 pixels per inch. This is also IP67 certified, meaning that you can submerge this in water for up to 30 minutes, under 3 meters of water, up to 3 meters of water. It's also dust resistant, so it's just like the Galaxy S5. Now, both of these devices have the same 300 milliamp hour battery, which is good for about 2 to 3 days of normal use. And unlike the Gear Fit, this also includes a microphone and built-in speaker, so you could answer your phone calls directly on your watch. Now, the Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo are available in a wide variety of colors. So as you can see here, I have the black Gear 2 and the gray Gear 2 Neo. And the Gear 2 also has different metal colors. So this one is the silver one. You can also get kind of a coppery gold color. Alright, so let's go ahead and unbox the Gear 2. I'm just going to slice the plastic tabs along the side here. Alright, so I've cut the tabs. I'm just going to lift the lid here. So there is our Gear 2. So we have a little tab here to open up. So we have our Samsung branded power adapter with this fixed micro USB charging cable, so you can't remove it. And then we have our charging cradle. And that's because this does not have a micro USB charging port. Instead, you have this little adapter here, which keeps the device thinner and waterproof. Now on the left side, we have our paperwork. So we have our health, safety, and warranty guide. Not a lot of interesting information there. And then we should have our quick user guide, quick reference manual, which tells us how to use the device, how to charge it, etc. So we're going to explore that in this video. All right, so let's remove the Gear 2. And as you can see, it's wrapped in plenty of plastic. It's got a nice hefty feel to it because it is made out of metal. All right, so I'm just going to remove the plastic here. So you can see it completely wraps the band. Should also wrap behind it. Just going to pull the tab back here, and there we go. Now we have another piece of plastic covering the watch clasp, which no longer integrates the speaker as it did with the Galaxy Gear from last year. Now before we take a close look at the design and features, I just want to boot it up. So I'm going to press and hold the new power button, which is now in a more traditional home button sort of orientation as opposed to the side button on the Galaxy Gear from last year. As you can see, the button was along the side. You can see you get that boot animation, which is very similar to the Galaxy S5. Samsung Gear 2. Now to connect your Gear, first download the Gear Manager via the Samsung App Store on your mobile device. Now the Gear 2 is compatible with about 20 Samsung Galaxy devices, including the GS5, which it launched with. Now as soon as I wake up my GS5, it automatically detects the presence of the Gear 2 watch, so I can go ahead and select OK to activate the pairing sequence. So right now, the first thing it needs to do is install the software. I have already downloaded the Gear Manager, which again, you can do from the App Store. Now I just need to pair my Gear 2 to my phone, so I'm going to click OK here, click OK. Now the first order of business is to update the firmware on the Gear 2, which you'll be prompted to do once you pair your device. Alright, so there we go. We have the Gear 2 ready to be used, and we have our Gear 2 Manager for adjusting the settings and features. Now, next up is the Gear 2 Neo. So you just have to cut the plastic tabs here, lift the lid, and there we go. The Gear 2 Neo, this is the kind of gray color. It is mostly plastic. We don't have the metal finish of the Gear 2. So there we go. We're going to set that aside for just a minute. As you can see, we also have a white USB power adapter as opposed to the black one. I'm not sure if that's indicative of the color or not, but as you can see, white with a charging cable. And then we have our cradle, which is color matched to the color I chose here, so that kind of mocha color. There we go. And we also have our paperwork, which is basically the same as the full Gear 2. All right, so let's go ahead and peel the plastic off here. We have another tab here inside. There we go. And we have another piece of plastic to peel off the metal clasp on the watch band. All right, so let's take a close look at the design and the materials they're using on the Galaxy Gear 2. As you can see, it has this nice metal faceplate, which looks a little more premium than the plastic construction of the Fit and the Neo. So it looks a little more professional. This is very similar to the Galaxy Gear from 6 months ago. As you can see, it also had a metal faceplate, and they've redesigned it. You can see the screen is the same size, but otherwise, the watch band and the faceplate have been redesigned. So as you can see now, we have a home button as opposed to just a sleep-wake button along the side. You can also see that the camera module has been moved. So instead of being integrated into the watch band, it's now integrated into the watch face, which means that you can now replace the watch band. In fact, if you look along the side profile, you'll see that the watch band is now modular on the Gear 2 as opposed to integrated on the Galaxy Gear. Now, the Galaxy Gear also integrated the speaker into the watch clasp. That has been moved to the watch body on the Gear 2, which allows them to slim down the clasp considerably. Now, taking a look at the watch body, as you can see, it's plastic, but it does integrate our speaker, and it has a little friction fitting here for the charging cradle. That friction fitting is also on the other side right here, just like we see with the Fit. And we also have a single microphone down here, which of course has to be waterproof for the IP67 certification. That also goes for the speaker. Now on the back we'll find a heart rate monitor, just like on the Fit and the Neo. This will measure your heart rate during exercises, and of course there is a dedicated app for measuring your heart rate. Now the watch band on the exterior has this nice textured finish. It looks pretty high-end. On the inside you'll find this ribbed pattern, which makes it a little more comfortable to wear on your wrist, so it allows your wrist to breathe. Now the clasp itself has also been redesigned. It's a little simpler. So as you can see, it snaps into place like so. And then when you want to pop it off, you can do it that way. Now you can also resize it. As you can see, you have a pin right here. If you want to resize it, just pop the pin and slide it around. So if you want to make it a little more spacious, you can do so like that. Snap it into place, and you're good to go. Now getting back to the Neo, this is very similar in design to the Gear 2, but it's entirely made out of plastic. So as you can see here, the front plate is pretty much the same design. It's just made out of plastic instead of metal. As you can see, it's also more monochromatic, so the watch band matches the color of the faceplate and the back panels. Now the home button is also different here. So you can see the home button is metal in this case, or at least it feels like metal. It has a nice texture to it, and it feels a little more raised than the what feels to me a smaller home button on the Neo. So this feels a little less tactile, a little harder to feel for. Now the displays and internal specs are identical on both devices, but you can see up here the one major feature difference, which is the lack of a camera module on the Neo. It just has an IR blaster, which the Gear 2 also includes. Now both these devices have the same internal specs. They both have a 1 GHz dual-core processor, half a gig of RAM, and 4 gigs of storage. Now if you look at the back, we have the same heart rate sensor, we have the same speaker grill along the side here, which is waterproof, IP67 waterproof, and we also have a microphone. Now the clasp mechanisms are identical on both watches, but the watch bands are a little different. Now to me, the Gear 2 feels a little higher quality. You can see the patterns a little different, but the material is softer and more pliable than the more rigid plastic on the Gear 2 Neo. So as you can see with the charging dock on the inside, we have those electrical connections, which lines up with the pins on the back of the device. You just snap this on. There you go. You have your USB port for charging. And you also have a perforation that lines up with the speaker grill, so the speaker can work through the charging dock. Now the Gear 2 Neo also has that same charging cradle design with the speaker outlet. You can pop it off like so. Now this is in stark contrast to the charging cradle of the Galaxy Gear from last year, which was a big clamshell that actually snapped around the entire watch face. Alright, so let's take a look at our user interface. Now if you tap and hold the home button, it gives you several options here. So you can power it off, you can restart it. You can select outdoor mode, which will brighten the screen and increase contrast for better visibility outdoors, but it's limited to 5 minutes. I'm just going to uncheck that here. We also have our sound options. So we have vibration, we have mute, and then we have sound, but you can't have both. So you can't have both sound and vibration. Now we can go back to the home screen, and as you can see, we have several pages of apps, kind of similar to a smartphone. In fact, if you look down here, you have these little indicators at the bottom, which indicates which page you're on and which one is the home screen. Now there are several multi-touch gestures to be aware of here. So if you double tap the home screen with 2 fingers, you get to your volume controls. So you can go all the way up to maximum or decrease it all the way to vibration. This also allows you to see your battery status, which is otherwise not visible. So you can double tap here, and then you can also increase your brightness. And again, 6 is outdoor mode, which is limited to 5 minutes. You can also decrease it all the way down to barely visible. We also have a dedicated app for these controls, so you can quickly access brightness and volume. Now, if you long press with 2 fingers, you'll get to your recent apps. So as you can see here, just like on a Samsung TouchWiz device, you can tap on any one of these to bring them forward, or again, tap and hold again to bring up your multitasker no matter where you are, and then you can also swipe them all the way to close them. And you can also get to that close all feature at the bottom. Now we have another gesture here. So for example, if I go into the app, if I go into the pedometer, if I drill down here, go into our history. Now how do I go back? Well, there is a gesture here to go back, just like on the Galaxy Gear. You swipe down from the top. Now if you're in the Gear Fit, you actually get a dedicated back button, which I actually find a little more intuitive. Now we have multiple pages of apps, but not all apps are actually on the home screens. In fact, we have an app drawer here. So if we go to the app drawer, right here, apps, you'll see we have another section full of apps. So if I drag and drop this, take it up to home screen here, it will drop it onto my home screen and create a new page. I can also edit this and move it around on my home screen, so I can create a new page, I can delete it, or I can drag it around to one of the other home screens. And as you can see, I need to make space on one of those home screens in order to drag and drop it. It doesn't bump it out of the way for me. Now you can also delete an app just by tapping and holding on it and take it up to remove. It just removes the app, it doesn't uninstall it. Now I cannot remove the home screen here. So as you can see here, the home screen is basically one big widget with shortcuts on it. So I can take it up here, it won't delete it, so unable to remove it. Now if I go to my apps, I can actually move them around within the app drawer here. And as you can see, they will move out of the way for me, which is not the case on the home screen, which is kind of interesting. All right, so let's take a look at some of the fitness apps they've included. So we have our pedometer, the exercise app, sleep, and heart rate. So pedometer is pretty basic. It keeps track of your steps. So as you can see here, I've walked 814 steps today. I can pause that, or I can resume it. It also tells you how much distance you've traveled and how many calories it estimates you've burned in that activity. So you can resume it. You can go up here to your history as well to see your previous days. You can tap on that to see exact specs or exact stats from that day. So 0.75 miles traveled yesterday, 79 calories burned, and I walked 1,486 steps, which is well shy of my goal of 10,000 steps. Speaking of goal, here is the goal, which you can modify, 10,000 steps. You also can reset your steps for the day. Now next up, we're going to take a look at the exercise app, which incorporates running, walking, cycling, and hiking. So if you want to go walking here, you go to the walking app and you begin start. So as you can see, it's keeping track of time as well as your heart rate and the distance traveled as well as calories burned. Now up here, you have this little icon for getting to the music player on the device so you can begin playing music. Now, if you go up here to your menu, you have several options here. So you can see your history. So you can see I don't have much here to take a look at, but you can tap on it, see more information, and then drill back here, back to your root menu. So you can go to your goal as well to set a variety of goals. So you can set your distance, time, or calorie goal. You also have your heart rate monitor, so you can turn that off, possibly to save battery life. So if you don't need the heart rate monitor running, you can disable it here. And of course, these apps are adjusted for the type of activity here. So for example, if you're cycling, it will use your GPS location to estimate miles traveled. Now we also have a standalone heart rate monitor, which keeps track of your heart rate and the time of day as well as date it was recorded, which will sync to the S Health app. And since you wear this on your wrist, you don't have to be too picky in terms of movement. So it will record your heart rate no matter what you're doing, as long as it's snug to your wrist. We also have this sleep app, which will actually keep track of your sleep activity. So if you're wearing this watch at night and you activate this app before you go into bed, it will actually keep track of motion during the night. Now you can see that last night I slept for 6 hours and 21 minutes and I was motionless for 92% of that time, which is pretty restful. Now I can also enable blocking mode because this does push notifications to your wrist. You don't necessarily want this going off in the middle of the night. Now on the next page, we have our phone dialer, logs, and contacts, everything related to our phone. So you have your dialer here, so you can input your phone number. It does include autocomplete. You also have quick access to your contacts in the upper right corner. You also have your logs right here, which includes text messaging as well as phone calls, missed phone calls, that sort of thing. All of that is included here. And you can delete them as well. And you can also filter by all logs, calls or missed calls, sent calls, received calls, rejected calls, messages, sent messages, received messages, etc. You also have your contacts app right there, which of course will reveal a bunch of phone numbers I'm sure don't want to be shared on the internet. Now you can place and receive phone calls directly on the Gear watch, of course using the Galaxy phone as the receiver. It just pipes it through the smartwatch. So as you can see, I have my caller ID information and I can go ahead and answer the phone call directly on my watch. All right, this is just a test of the audio of the smartwatch. So you can see it's pretty loud, but certainly not going to work terribly well in a noisy environment. Now, alternatively, you can reject the call with a text message. And again, you have to select one of the pre-canned messages. Now, we also have a page full of utilities, such as the music player, watch on remote control, voice memo, and S-Voice. Now, S-Voice is kind of handy on a smartwatch, but it's definitely a lot more limited than the version on the smartphone. So let's go ahead and test it out. What's the weather like tomorrow?
On Saturday we'll have some sunshine with a few clouds.
Set an alarm for tomorrow at 7 a.m. to wake me up.
All right, this is your alarm for 7 a.m. Do you want to save this alarm?
Yes.
Okay, I saved your alarm for 7 a.m.
Send a text message to Michael Kukelka Mobile. Are you going to be in tomorrow? Question mark.
Here is your message. Ready to send it?
Yes.
Sending message.
Now you can ask things like, how tall is the Empire State Building?
(1,250 feet city rank, first national rank, third world rank, 24.
But you can't do things like, show me photographs of a Ford Mustang.
Web search is not supported.
Now you can also open up apps, so you can say, open the pedometer.
Open pedometer.
Now we also have an onboard music player, so you can load songs on this device and play music directly from your watch using a set of Bluetooth headphones or the internal speaker. Now we also have a voice memo app which syncs to your voice memo app on the phone. Now you're limited to 5-minute sessions and it also includes transcription, so let's go ahead and try this out. This is a test of the voice memo app, which also includes transcription. All right, so if I go up here, I can see my history. So I can see that message I just recorded. Now let me go up here to enable transcription.
This is a test of the voice memo app, which also includes transcription.
Now if you go to the voice recorder app on the Galaxy phone, you can see that one has been synced, including the transcription.
This is a test of the voice memo app, which also includes transcription.
Now we also have the Watch on Remote Control app, which is pretty easy to set up. Now this allows us to control our TV or set-top box using an IR blaster. Now we're kind of limited in this app versus the full-featured app on the mobile phone. So we can set up our TV. I can select my Samsung TV here, select OK. We're going to send the power code. And if that worked to turn on the TV, we're going to click yes. And we're done. So it's added the TV and given us this control panel. Now we can also add our set-top box by going to STB. We're going to go to the USA. I'm on Comcast. Click OK. Select the power button. If that worked, click yes. Click done. And then we have our set-top box and TV. And as you can see, when you swipe right, you get your input for your channel selection. Now, what I found to be a big problem here is there is no OK or Enter button, which my set-top box requires in order to input a channel selection. So I find this to be a very limited app. Now, the email app is pretty full-featured, and it includes all the accounts you've added to the email app on your Samsung device. So I can see my combined view and my individual accounts. And as you can see, they're color-coded. Now I can swipe to delete a message, or I can cancel it. I can open the message and see the entire text of the message. I can also swipe left or right to navigate through my messages. I can also reply. Now I am limited to canned messages when replying to an email. Now you can set these up or customize them under the Gear Manager app, which I'll show you a bit later. Now if you go up to settings here, you have more reply options. So you can select templates, or you can select emoticons. So if I select emoticons, I can now reply to this message with something like that, and I can go ahead and send it off. Now I can also delete the message, or I can tell it to show it on the device. So if I select show on device, it will automatically unlock my device and take me right to that message. Now we also have the Messages app, which works with the included messaging app on your Galaxy phone. So for example, you have all my previous messages, including one I sent to myself. Now I can swipe to the left to message me, or I can swipe to the right to call me. This is very similar to the experience on a Galaxy phone. Now, if I want to reply to a text message, I can click reply, and I can use any one of the canned messages. But if I swipe down here and go to my settings, I can change that to S-Voice or emoticon. So you can see with messaging, you have a little more options here in terms of input. So if you select S-Voice, you can actually dictate a reply using voice.
What's your message?
This is just a test of S-Voice on the Gear 2, period.
Here is your message. Ready to send it.
Cancel. And incidentally, when you press here, you can see you get a little indicator for adjusting the volume. So if you can't hear S voice or if you want to quiet it down, you always have a quick access toggle to your volume control. Now we also have Find My Device. So if we enable this, this will start ringing our phone or tablet to help us find it. Now this also works in reverse. So if you want to find your gear directly from the Gear Manager, you can do that as well. Now we also have the Gallery app, which shows us all the photos and videos recorded directly on this device. Now we also have a media controller, which is kind of like a remote control for the media apps on your mobile phone or tablet, whatever's connected to it. So I can click play. Now it's controlling whatever media app I was last using, in this case Google Play Music. So I can pause it, play it, skip ahead, and then I can also increase volume, or I can mute it. Now we also have the Weather app, which uses your GPS location to identify the current conditions no matter where you are. You can click refresh to update it as well. Now if you tap on the app, it takes you to your future forecast. Now we also have our calendar, which syncs with the S Planner app on your Galaxy phone. As you can see, you can swipe through the days and you can navigate through the entire day just by swiping up and down. And if you want to see more information, all you have to do is tap on any one of them, like so, to get to more information. You can see the time of day the event is, as well as more detailed information in the title information. Now we also have a stopwatch and timer. So if we go to the stopwatch app, we can click start. We can also lap. So we can record our individual laps, and that goes with the fitness theme of this watch. Click stop, so you can see all your lap times. Let's go back to the timer. So with the timer, we can set a specific time, like so, and then we can click start. And as you can see, we have a little progress indicator. Now we can navigate away from this timer, and it will automatically alert us when the time is up. Now let's take a look at notifications. As you can see, I have 3 pending notifications, and these are all the apps I have authorized for pushing notifications on my Gear 2. So as you can see, I can delete them all. I can also see that I have 3 unviewed messages. And then I can see that I have these previous messages which have push notifications to my smartwatch. So for example, I can go to Instagram. I can see my Instagram event. So it's basically a notification that's similar to what appears on your smartphone. Now, not all notifications are the same. So for example, if I look at the Gmail, oh, there, I just got a notification here. So I've received a new question on ask.fm. I can swipe it out of the way here. And then we can go to email notifications. So as you can see here, the email app basically comes up and I can see more detailed information than just the pop-up, which is kind of nice. Now if I go to the Gmail app, which isn't as full featured here, if I go to Gmail, just gives me a notification very similar to the notification I would get on the Galaxy phone. So I get a preview, but I don't actually see the full text of the email. Now these notifications stay synced to your Galaxy phone. So if you look at them here, they'll disappear from the pending notification panel in your drop-down shade. Now there are 2 ways of receiving notifications on the Gear 2. Either as a full screen pop-up or as a banner pop-up. Now most of the time you'll get the full screen pop-up, but in certain apps you don't want that to happen, such as the camera app. So if you're looking at the camera and you receive a notification, instead you'll get a banner pop-up at the top of the screen without interrupting what you're doing. Now let's take a look at our settings. The first thing we have here is the clock face, which we can change. So you can also select the clock with weather. You can select a different clock face, and you can also get more clock faces from the Gear Manager, which I'll show you later. We also have our wallpapers, which you can customize here from the available gallery items. I only have 1 image there, but you can also go with the available options here. So you can see patterns, or you can select a solid color. We also have our notification panel, so that just allows us to turn it on or off. And then we also have our sound settings, and there's quite a few sound settings here. So we have our volume control here. We have multimedia, ringtones, notification, and system. So you can individually control the volume of these settings. So you can see multimedia, ringtones, notifications, as well as system. So you can see all of those are controlled independently. We also have touch sounds, which you can disable if you prefer. Those are off by default. We have our ringtones, so you can see there's not too much to pick from here. You have modernist, timeless, and twinkle. Click OK there. And then we also have vibration. So you can change the vibration from strong to weak. We also have notifications. So we have driving signal, flicker, and tic-tac. Now under display, we have our brightness controller here. We also have our screen timeout settings, which are defaulted to 10 seconds. I've extended it to 5 minutes for this demo. We also have our fonts, so we can change our font style. So you can see the available fonts. None of them look terribly good. And we also have our font size, so we can go from small, medium to large. Now we also have the wake up gesture. So if you lift your wrist to look at the time, it automatically detects that that's what you want to do, and will wake up the display to show you either the time or the last viewed app. So you can select that under the settings here. You also have have the home icon size. So by default, we have the small icons, but if you select large icons, let's go to the home screen now, you can see that very similar to the iPod Nano, you now have these larger icons as opposed to the smaller grid view. We also have our home screen editor, which is a little different. So as you can see here, you can rearrange apps, you can remove them or create new pages. And as you can see here, when you move the apps around, they'll rearrange for you. We also have our Bluetooth settings, which allows us to disconnect our Bluetooth connection to our phone or add a Bluetooth headset. Now we also have double press settings, so that's referring to the home button. So if you double press the home button, in my case I've activated S Voice, but you have many other options here. So you can do recent apps, which is actually very useful. Then we have camera, contacts, controls, dialer, email, exercise, find my device, gallery, heart rate, logs, etc., etc. So basically every function of this device can be activated by double pressing the home button. Now privacy lock is a feature that locks our smartwatch if it disconnects from our smartphone. That prevents somebody from finding this and having access to potentially sensitive information. So we can go to privacy lock, activate it by entering a PIN in. Now as you can see right now, I don't need my PIN to access my smartwatch, but if I disable Bluetooth on my smartphone here, it will pop up automatically. Now we also have our profile settings here. This is necessary for the fitness app, so you can see my gender, date of birth, height, weight, etc. That's all settable here. All right, so let's take a look at the camera app. Again, 2 megapixels with autofocusing. You have a camera mode and a video camera mode. As you can see here, you just tap the screen to take a photo and it focuses it for you. It does both at the same time, so you don't have a lot of flexibility in that regard. Now if you go to your settings up here, you have focus mode, so you can select auto or macro for closer photography. You also have photo size, so you can adjust it all the way up to 16:9 or less. We also have sound in shot, which is a feature we're familiar with on the Galaxy devices. So this will record a 9-second clip when you shoot a photograph, so let's go ahead and demonstrate that. This is just a test of the sound in shot feature. And you can click stop if you don't want to record the entire 9 seconds. Now if you swipe to the right, you get to your gallery.
This is just a test of the sound and shot feature.
And of course you can swipe through the other parts of your gallery as well. Now we also have something called signature, and if we enable this and take a photograph, basically all it does is imprint Samsung Gear on the photograph. So now if we swipe to the right, you'll see it right there. We also have location tags, which you can turn off or on. It's off by default, and when it's on, you'll actually see an indicator in the upper corner here. Now we also have voice control, which is off by default, but I've enabled this. So basically, all you have to do is say, shoot, cheese, and it takes the photo for you hands-free. Now when you're in video mode, you basically tap the screen to start recording, and as you can see, you're limited to 15 seconds, and you're limited to 9 clips. So if you exceed that, you'll then be prompted to start deleting them. But of course, this will automatically transfer to your phone so you can keep your storage free on your device. Now you can also select your video size from the options menu. So you have 720p or 640 by 640. All right, so let's take a look at the Gear Manager so we can adjust our home screen, so we can adjust our wallpaper as well as our clock faces. As you can see, it syncs to the device so it knows exactly what your device is on right now. So if we go to our wallpapers, we can select any one of the wallpapers they've given us. Now as you can see, it doesn't update it live like it does on the Fit. You actually have to click Done. So if you click Done, it then applies the wallpaper. Now you can add a custom image by going to More Images. It'll take you directly to your photo gallery, so we can add one of our images. Let's go to one of the images in my camera roll. Let's go to Zoe here, picture of Zoe. And then we just have to resize it to fit the Gear 2 screen. Click Done, and click Done to apply it. So there we go. We have our custom image for our wallpaper, which works great with those transparent icons. Now we can also select different clock faces. As you can see, they update in real time for you. Now some of these clock faces have additional settings here. So for example, if we go to our shortcut clock, which is the default clock, you can actually select what shortcuts you want it to appear here. So if you go to settings here, you'll see that we have shortcut application 1, 2, and 3. The one I want to change here is application 2, the pedometer, which I would like to add a different application. As you can see here, I have lots and lots of applications to pick from. So the one I may want is, let's say, S Voice. Let's click S Voice. So it changes it for us in real time. Now you can also change the clock font to light, dynamic, or default. We also have our event clock, which will add our calendar events. Now this allows you to cycle between all the events on your clock face. And if you want to see the event, just tap on it, it takes you right to it. Now under S-Health, we have our sync settings, so we can change our pedometer transfer interval from 24 hours to 3 hours, or you can transfer now. Now under notifications, we have several options here, including limiting notifications. So if you don't want the notifications to appear on both your smartphone and your smartwatch while you're looking at your smartphone, you can click that option. We also have Smart Relay. So if you're looking at a notification on your Galaxy Gear and you pick up your phone, it automatically launches the app from that notification. Now you can also select specific apps to push notifications, such as phone calls, your alarm, the calendar, missed calls, messages, email, and weather. And then you have all your third-party apps here, which you can check manually. So you can see I've only selected a few of them, but you have quite a few to pick from. Now, if we go to My Apps, you'll find all the apps, including their settings. So for example, if we go to the camera, we can select Auto Transfer, so you can automatically transfer all your photos and videos directly to your device. Right now I have selected for always, only when charging or manual are also options. You also have your contacts, so you can select exactly what contacts are displayed, so you can do all contacts or only your favorites. You also have your email settings, so you can select specific accounts or add additional accounts and edit a signature. Now we also have our S-Voice settings, so we can enable voice prompts or disable it. We have voice memo, so we can do auto transfer, which I have also set for always. Now if you want to transfer music to the Gear 2, you can do so via the USB port and the USB adapter, or you can do it from your phone. So all I have to do is go to the app settings for music. So we go to the music player, go to settings, send tracks to the Gear. So as you can see here, I've added some songs to my Galaxy S5. Now I can send these songs over to the Gear just by going up here to select, and I can select certain tracks. So let me go and select that one, click send. So now if I go to my music player, I'll find an additional track to pick from. Now you can also download additional apps for your Gear 2. So you can see they're categorized by entertainment, finance, health, fitness, lifestyle, social networking, and utilities. So if I go ahead and select one of these categories, I can see all the apps that are available in that category. So you can see I can download free, paid, etc., or what's new. Let's go ahead and download this app. Now this is actually a companion app for the smartphone app. Now there are not many apps to pick from. So for example, if we go to social networking, you can see it's basically one page, and I don't see Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, or anything like that in here. Now after installing that app, if I go to My Apps, you'll see that it now appears at the bottom. If I want to delete it, I just go up to the trash can up here and delete it. So as you can see in this case, it's installed an app on my phone as well as on my Gear. So if I go to my apps now, I'll see it right here. Now it's basically a camera app that combines with the app on the phone, so you can use the camera here to snap photos of wine labels. Now under settings, we have our options such as double pressing the home key, so we can select that here. As you can see, even our third-party apps do appear here. So you can select S-Voice, notifications, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to select notifications now, which I actually prefer. You can also select auto lock. Now basically this turns your smartwatch into a key for your unlocking your device. As long as it's connected, you don't have to enter in a passcode or swipe your gesture in to unlock the device. You just unlock it. But if you disconnect the watch, let's go ahead and just disconnect Bluetooth, and now try to unlock the phone, you'll have to enter in your gesture. You can also adjust the wake up gesture settings right here, so you can select clock or last viewed screen like you can directly on the Gear 2 itself. You also have the default text input method, so you can select S-Voice, templates, or emoticons. And you can also edit the text templates right here, so you can delete them or add additional ones to pick from. Now we can also enable voice command for incoming calls. So for example, when receiving an incoming call, you can speak directly to the Gear 2 by saying answer or reject. Now we also have safety assistance. So what this will do is basically send an emergency message to designated contacts to let you know your location. It will also record video and an audio sample, just to let you know that you're in a situation and you need help. This is meant to be discreet, so if you can't answer your phone, you can't pick up your phone, basically all you have to do is triple tap the home button to activate that feature. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of these watches, and I think the biggest pro here is the display. It's a nice large display, it's perfect for reading full text. It's also a bright, vivid, colorful display that looks great off axis. It also looks pretty good outdoors, although it tends to get washed out in bright sunlight. Now in terms of aesthetics, there's a huge difference between the Gear 2 and the Gear 2 Neo. The metal watch face is much more attractive, at least to me, than the plastic watch face. It definitely looks a lot more sophisticated and would definitely be the version I would prefer to wear, but of course it is $100 more. It's also very light and comfortable to wear, has pretty solid battery life, 2 days out of heavy use in my case, but of course you can get up to 3 days, they say, under normal use. And it's fantastic to have notifications on your wrist without having to take your phone out of your pocket, and that has worked out pretty well. Now in terms of cons, I think the biggest one for me is the user interface. Sometimes it's a little confusing. I'm not sure if I'm on the home screen or if I'm in the app drawer. and it's kind of difficult to get to notifications, which I think is one of the most used features here. So it'd be nice if the notification panel was kind of built into the user interface instead of treated like an app. And of course, this watch is locked down to Samsung devices and works best only with Samsung apps, which may not work for a lot of people. So in conclusion, I think this is a huge leap over the Galaxy Gear, just 6 months old. So you can see the progress has moved up quite a bit with the Gear 2. So I can only imagine what the next step is, and certainly there's a lot of interesting competition coming. So that's going to do it for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. All right, so here I am in my foyer with Zoe and Chloe. Looks like they're sunbathing, but I think they're ready to go outside. So in fact, that's what I'm about to do. So let's go outside and take a look at performance of this camera outdoors. Hey girls, come here. Hey Chloe. Chloe, hey, what's up? Hey girls. Come on. Come on, let's walk.